2000s, I was possessed by Eminem. His grittiness, his prominent nose, his fuck you attitude. I watched the movie 8 Mile repeatedly, thinking, I've got to find a partner who brings out the carnal feelings that Eminem does. When I met Randy, I'd been single for 6 months, promising myself I'd spend my energy in graduate school on my graduate school studies. I used surfing as a counterbalance to writing papers and reading boring APA journals. Randy served my local break. Randy reminded me of Eminem. The wounded animal vibe. The way he was so dedicated to surfing. The focus in his hazel eyes. His intensity. Randy was different from the other surfers at my break. For one, he had a job. He talked passionately about the 8-year-olds he taught. Like Eminem, he'd worked hard to get where he was. He put himself through his teaching credential program while working full-time. I empathized as a grad student trying to find time to work. What a compassionate, hardworking person. He even took in strays. I love my Chester, he told me when I ran into him walking his dog, his stray dog from Mexico. Stray dogs, young student, he practically had disciples washing his feet. Many of my friends were getting married. I was sick of repeatedly dancing to In the Club in a satin bridesmaid dress. It's okay. It was a long time ago. I was hoping to meet someone before I turned 35 so I could watch my friends dance at my wedding. I already envisioned getting married and living happily ever after. Randy, me, and Chester. After talking to him a couple of times in the water, he mentioned that he went to church. I don't go to church. Organized religion scares the shit out of me. But upon meeting Randy, I lied to myself. I'm spiritual. Isn't that kind of similar to religion? And maybe a churchgoer would be kinder than my last partner, a 23-year-old fledgling who was angry at the world. It was a Thursday afternoon, while staring out at the sparkling blue horizon, waiting for a wave to come through. I inhaled the briny ocean air as I caught Randy's athletic profile out of the corner of my eye. I was having a gathering at my apartment that weekend. I felt shy inviting him to the party, but I repeated myself, don't let fear hold you back from what you want. I'd internalized corny mantras like this from the self-help books I was obsessed with. Sometimes corny mantras worked. I caught a wave, paddled back out to join him in the lineup, and invited him. He said yes. Not really. He showed up. It's okay. It's been a minute. He showed up carrying a Tupperware-filled container of his homemade salsa. Buzzed on sangria, I spoke to Randy during most of the party, neglecting my other guests. I couldn't believe it. He actually seemed interested in me. Before he left my house, he offered to cook me dinner the next night. I felt like the stars had finally aligned for me. That Sunday night at his place was heavenly. He lived in a rustic beach cottage with a backyard he landscaped himself. He cooked orange glazed salmon with pineapple rice, which was still one of the best meals I've ever eaten. We drank 2 bottles of Merlot and danced to one of my favorite albums, The Beatles' Abbey Road. As the evening's orange rays shone through his windows, we sang the remaining few words to the album's last song. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. What befitting lyrics, I thought. It only took me a week to start sleeping over. I saw him almost every night. The minutes at school, at work, even surfing dragged on. My friends called me out. Kelley, you're losing yourself. You hardly know this guy. But according to me, they just didn't see the saintly qualities I saw. Randy and I took his dogs for walks on the beach, drank pitchers of Rolling Rock while we played pool at local bars, ate delicious homemade food, always accompanied by copious amounts of wine. And he was transcendent in bed. You all know what I'm talking about. I'd finally met the person I thought was my soulmate. I even went to church with him one Sunday. He told me he'd been born again. I didn't know what that really meant. But yay, I toasted to that. I toasted to all of it, especially the rapturous sex. A few weeks into our relationship, he invited me to an event called Harvest Crusade. All right. Fuck yeah, thank you, I'm in the right crowd. An evangelical Christian revival where thousands of fervent worshipers gathered at Qualcomm Stadium. Hordes of Jesus freaks fell to their knees, crying. My knees were already trashed and still are from playing soccer, and crying in public did not sound like my happy place. He had said he'd been to Harvest Crusade previous years, but this year he wasn't going without me. I figured he'd already gone, so I didn't need to. I'm gonna opt out. I hope that's cool with you, I told him. It just doesn't sound like something that's for me. His eyes devilishly bored into mine as he responded with, okay, I get it. I slept over at his house that night. And as usual, we indulged in sumptuous food, complimentary wine, and the sexual aphrodisia that being together always ignited. Usually, he called a couple hours after I left his house. But 24 hours later, I had not heard back from him. The next night, I sat on my sofa crying, convinced that I was a Medusa or Gorgon, too hideous for him to stay with me. I worshipped him, his seductive body, his Eminem vibe. Ugh. I got up to surf before work this following morning, and I spotted him in the water. As the ripples lapped against my surfboard, my insides quivered with anticipation. I paddled up to him, smiling. He gave me a cool hello, then rode a wave in. I could barely paddle my board because I was crying. It's okay. Sounds like a bad Lifetime movie. I phoned him when I got home. I had to find out why he was ghosting me. What did I do? I asked, my voice shaking. I needed him to renew my faith in our relationship. He paused a couple of seconds before responding. You can't figure it out on your own? Well, no. I asked you to go to Harvest Crusade. Yeah? I was really offended you said no. I didn't think it was that important to you. I guess I should have known. He was, as they say, saved. Saved from what? I still don't know. I'll never fully understand the meaning of getting saved. It's part of who I am. Why would you deny yourself a chance of getting into heaven? And I probably won't, so fucking take me. Okay. On my TV, George W. Bush was once again pumping up the war on terror. Even with the volume on mute, I could hear him lying about weapons of mass destruction. Like Jesus, Bush had said, if you're not with me, you're against me. I scrambled to keep Randy on the phone. I wanted so badly to continue experiencing his divine fingers on my body, to keep eating manna from heaven meals, to continue living the nirvana dream of a wedding where my friends and family would celebrate that I'd found a partner who loved the crazy person that I am. I'll go with you to the revival, I sobbed. My instincts were shouting, no! But hey, going to the crusade would appease Randy. I get to keep living in the euphoria of bliss. By that evening, he was lying on top of me. I didn't end up going to Harvest Crusade. Thank you. I will never effing go to Harvest Crusade if it's still going on. Fuck that shit. Take me now. Even with my idyllic paradise of our future together at stake, I couldn't bring myself to get up on stage in front of thousands of people and accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. We continued to date, but the hereafter in our little Garden of Eden was filled with quarrels and rage. We'd planned to celebrate his birthday by having dinner at George's at the Cove. After a great deal of wine, we ended up crying and yelling at each other, never making it to dinner. The next morning greeted us with silence and hangovers. My birthday followed his by a week. We planned another dinner and a romantic walk on Sunset Cliffs. The night before, I stopped by his house on the spur of the moment. He greeted me with sour beer breath and a crooked smile. His guitar rested on his sofa. He offered to play and sing me a song while handing me an IPA. Stepping into the fool's paradise, I looked around the beer-bottle-lined living room and took a breath before saying, "Hey, we have a nice evening planned tomorrow night. I'm not feeling so great, so I think I'm going to drive home and get some rest, even though I'll miss you tonight." His voice escalated. "You're leaving? You just got here." "I'd rather not be sick on my birthday. I'll see you tomorrow." "You're overreacting." "Oh, Jesus. Sorry, Jesus." My response agitated him even more. He yelled, "Why are you judgmentalizing me?" I put him on a pedestal. He was getting his master's, but that didn't mean he was smart. It was the word judgmentalizing. Fuck. When I remembered something I'd always believed. Education means you know that a tomato is a fruit. Intelligence makes you know that you don't put that in a salad, a tomato. Randy was not a supreme being. I had drunk argued with other partners. It's impossible for squabbling drunks to reach any type of consensus. But I didn't realize how deep in purgatory I was. The next day, on my birthday, my friends and family called and texted, but they might as well have ignored me because I only focused on Randy's silence. I started bawling around noon, sitting in my apartment waiting for him to show up. I finally called him. "You're overreacting. I'll get there when I get there," he said with his omniscient tone. 2 torturous hours later, he finally showed up. I was so distressed that I couldn't enjoy dinner. When he took me home, I told him I didn't want to see him anymore. I was fed up with being in limbo. Fuck yeah. He cried. I remained stoic. The intoxication was wearing off. But maybe that delicious orange glazed salmon of our first date was like the forbidden fruit of paradise, because I still craved the blissful connection we shared. I called him a couple of times and asked if he wanted to get a picture and play pool, go for a walk, have coffee, just to talk. He wouldn't respond. Apparently, God had closed that door. But I was saved. I was saved from choosing someone who made me betray myself. Even if he was made in the divine design of Eminem.